Hi, I'm Luke Stansel, founder of Roster, and we're helping NCAA coaches recruit the transfer portal 10 times faster. The NCAA transfer portal has become one of the hottest tools for recruiting. In 2023 alone, there were 26,000 student athletes to enter the portal. And there's a tremendous amount of data on these athletes. In an NCAA football game alone, there are over 15,000 visual data points that are already collected. But none of them are being used when recruiting out of the transfer portal. And so there's this gap of information for NCAA coaches, which leads to this really big shift in who transfers to what conference. So we see that in Power 5, 55% of the transfers into the Power 5 are from other Power 5 schools. And with an increase of 105% since the inception of the transfer portal, this is just going to be a huge problem for coaches going forward. Because right now, for a lot of programs, recruiting the transfer portal is prohibitively time-consuming. The evaluations are time-intensive, and the NCAA portal doesn't actually tell you anything except a player's name, their sport, and their school. And so in order to find things that are important to coaches like their height, their position, and their stats, it's a completely manual process. And you need to go to at least 3 different sites just to get basic information. And there's no ability to connect to data that teams already pay for and have. And so things like video, which they already pay an arm and a leg for, they just have no ability to recruit an individual player using that. But that's where Roster comes in. So Roster provides instant and accurate statistical analysis for players entering the portal. Coaches get email updates and can browse and filter by position whenever a player goes in. And we can create scout videos in minutes. I was the volleyball manager for Rice volleyball for 4 years, and I actually reduced my own time in creating highlight videos from 2 hours to 15 minutes just using my own software. And a recruit is only as good as they are in context. And so we offer an all-in-one workspace that allows you to organize your recruits as well as compare them to the other people that you're looking at. And we believe that the best opportunity for us to make money in this market is by providing scalable subscription models. And so we believe that by providing a fully featured sport-by-sport access model, we can actually have coaches champion Roster to other coaches and to the administrators at their school, which will lead to sort of the all-access subscription that is department-wide. Currently in our go-to-market phase, we are in the testing phase. And so we're testing with Rice University at the department level, and we are hopefully going to get testing with some other high Division I programs soon. And this will allow us to not only confirm assumptions based on our plan, features, and pricing, but also learn more about what features coaches care most about. What are they looking at when they look at the portal? And after we've completed our testing phase, which should be in the next few months, we want to penetrate by conference. And so we want to be able to level the playing field for each team in a conference and offer things like a first-in-conference discount, because we believe that this will give some leverage when trying to get new customers. And finally, after we have gained considerable market share, we believe that there is a lot of opportunity in the market for recruit evaluation as a whole. And so we're going to use some of the research that we've already started on computer vision to be able to automatically break down things like recruit video based on when a player performs an action. Okay. And this is a pretty big market. In Division I alone, there are 6,790 programs for each sport. And they're all spending more money on recruiting. In the Power 5 football teams, they actually saw a 50% increase in recruiting spend in 2023 as compared to 2017 to 2022. And over 100,000 players have entered the portal. And so there's really no reason why coaches need to be looking up players and spending hours to evaluate or recruit when they can do it in minutes. And we're really lucky to be in this space where we're the only person doing transfer portal support. And so our main competitors are competitors because they have data. But we are able to leverage that data using Coach's own subscriptions. And that's how we're able to provide our own analysis and things like ratings and video clipping instantaneously. And finally, Roster is well set up for success because although I'm a solo founder, I have a great team of advisors behind me. And the first on that list is Scott Powers. Dr. Powers is a Stanford PhD who, before transitioning into academia, was the assistant general manager for the world champion Houston Astros. And he's actually presenting today in the audience. Second is Kyle Judah. So Kyle is a successful startup founder who had an exit with his startup Recovend, which primarily sold to schools. And so we know how to sell to schools. And he's dedicated his career now to helping student entrepreneurs, including running the Entrepreneurship Center here at MIT. And finally, Tanner is the Senior Associate AD at Rice University. But prior to that, he was a Stanford wrestler and went to Harvard Business School before going to BCG and then Rice. And finally, I'm Luke Stansel. So for the last 4 years, I've been the Rice volleyball manager, so I know how difficult this analysis is. And I'm graduating this May with a degree in mathematical engineering and economics. I have some work experience launching my own startup that's successfully in the App Store, as well as working for Goldman Sachs this previous summer. So we don't want to take away what coaches do best. We want to let coaches evaluate their players. And so with Roster, coaches, you can recruit your way faster. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Got one quick question before I have a second one, which is you had UVA and Illinois up there before. Are you doing anything with them?
So we are working with the UVA basketball team currently, and we're hoping to expand into the university as a whole. And then Illinois is just in the pipeline, and we're hoping to get a testing phase finalized soon.
And just help me understand a bit more when we say, I understand that this does make things 10x faster for a coach. You've felt it yourself, but for me and maybe the crowd, like what specifically allows you to do that? Like when you went from 2 hours to 15 minutes with video, like what specifically did that?
Yeah, so in video alone, you go from having to use 4 different programs, download 7 or more 10 gigabyte videos just to create a 6-minute highlight video. So we're able to leverage some cloud storage to make it so you don't have to download anything. You can just make that video in a much more streamlined fashion than is possible now on just one website. So you don't have to download an app. You can just go to the website and do it there and have a video download in your screen that's fully functioning. And thank you.
A similar question. You had a slide up where you said that you are differentiated from your competitors, that they have data, but I think your word was that you have insight. So can you talk a little bit more about the differentiation between you and Teamworks, Catapult? And
and Teamworks is partly for their scouting software that they've recently acquired, but really none of them actually have access to the transfer portal. So I had a unique experience as the manager to access this data. None of them have it because it's all FERPA protected. And so the way that we get around, not get around that, but the way that we are able to use that is, I built it as an authorized agent, and no company can use, can look at that data unless they're an authorized agent. So we actually don't, keep a central database. We have a database for each school, and so that way, they are just viewing their own data, but we're just making it really easy to view that data that they could have gone out and collected themselves, but it would take hours, and we do it in seconds.
Who is the decision maker when it comes to purchasing and using the product for teams? Is it the head coach for most, or do the athletic directors in these situations?
So it's almost never the head coach. They have a few other decisions. So there's really 2 people. So it's either going to be a member of the administration, for sports, or it's going to be an assistant coach who has been deemed the recruiting coordinator. For football, you might get a special recruiting coordinator if you're a big enough school, but really it's going to be that person who has to spend a lot of time in the portal. It's most likely going to fall within their purview, and so they're going to make that decision and hopefully get approval from the AD, but it's going to be most likely them and from their budget.
And I guess having kind of been in the transfer industry of sorts, how are you seeing the split across sports in terms of the value proposition for football and basketball versus volleyball or some of the other sports?
So obviously the moneymaker is football. That's what everyone says, but this is providing so much value to a lot of sports where you might go to ESPN and not have your stats, right? Daryl Morey was talking about how they just gave a lot of money, so Sports Reference would have women's sports. Well, we make it really cheap for women's sports to have this ability to recruit players from the transfer portal that had been limited to these top tier D1 football schools that had 20 different recruiting analysts working for them around the clock on this. And so, yeah, does that answer your question? Okay.
I want to understand a little bit more kind of the authorized user concept that you talked about, like that you as kind of the volleyball manager had access, and then that you're kind of building on top of that. Like what does that technology look like? Is it like a clean room environment? I'm just trying to think through it as a lawyer, like you're not using your access for someone else.
For
so what
sure.
is it?
Yeah, and I do have, apparently can't show an appendix. So with data scraping, there was the United States versus Van Buren, which basically ruled that if you have access, we're not selling any data, right? But you can scrape that. If you can do it manually, then you can do it with a computer. So what's happening is we're essentially setting up a server where a coach provides their login credentials, and it's scraping the NCAA transfer portal every few minutes. And then automatically, once you get a new player in, it's compiling all the stats and compiling all the video information and giving that to the coach. And that's going to be hard for places like Huddle or Catapult to replicate, not only because they don't have access to the FERPA data, but actually in tech it's really hard to get a patent, except for when you're using techniques in things like web scraping. So we're actually going to be starting the patent process, and we've talked to some attorneys about that very soon. And so some of this tech will actually really prevent other schools from being, other companies from being able to do anything like it.
That's really interesting, and I didn't realize that when you presented it, is that you are scraping the marketplace. I mean, in ticketing, it's gone through something relatively similar in the secondary market over the last decade or so. And I mean, those companies who have access are able to see that data and scrape it, they've been in a very unique competitive advantage. So what other applications have you thought of?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of applications, but first we really want to get all this data that's just out there, and we want to make it actually work. But there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. And really, in the sports industry, and while there are a lot of applications to other industries, in the sports industry, we want to take this computer vision of just cutting up film, because that's what takes the most time of coaches, right? That's their biggest time suck, and making it automated, making it so that we're not providing analysis necessarily, but we are allowing coaches to take high school video and make it something that they can actually watch. So they're not just seeing your highlights, they're seeing how you actually play a game, because that's really what coaches care about in talking to all the coaches that I have. Thank you.